According to some breaking news, the WNBA's national broadcast schedule has been released for the 2025 season. There are 175 games that you can watch on national TV and streamed. And guess how many of those games feature Caitlin Clark? Yes, the haters may want to grab a stuffed animal and maybe some Pepto-Bismol because the WNBA is the worst kept secret in the sports world. No amount of devious PR statements or remarks about scheduling conflicts can hide the fact that Caitlin Clark is the WNBA, and the networks, like the team owners, are making strategic financial moves to capitalize on Caitlin the Indiana Fever. Yes, the team that was 5-31 only a few years ago and played to the echoes of half-empty arenas until Caitlin arrived will have 41 of their 44 games nationally televised or streamed in 2025. That's right, 41 out of 44. It's a crazy broadcast takeover, the kind typically reserved for dynasties or big market teams. And it's pretty ironic while media talking heads spin their wheels for her games, Wheeler finds Clark from the logo. The Fever have ABC and ESPN slots like the Lakers or Celtics, and they're riding the hot hand all the way to Prophet Town. However, there's more to come because this is just one of many recent developments that suggest this will be a huge year for Caitlin and the Fever. Even though this is all fantastic news for the WNBA, you know that some star players are upset that Caitlin is getting nearly full national exposure. Angel might want to spend some of the $50,000 she received from Unmatched in terms of noise-canceling headphones. Just wait until you see how many more games Caitlin has coming up. Let's get started, but first, if you think Caitlin will sell out every arena this season, hit the like button. Alright, let's talk about this insane national broadcast schedule. The Indiana Fever are essentially the new prime time obsession, with 41 of 44 games on national TV or streaming, including games on ABC, ESPN, CBS, and any other network. You're likely to see Caitlin make three-pointers against Connecticut in the first quarter. It doesn't matter that Indiana isn't a champion or a big market, Clark is the league's biggest draw, period. The network saw last year's off-the-charts ratings whenever she played and said, "We need more of that." In 2024, her rookie season, the league broke all previous viewership records, becoming the most watched WNBA season in 24 years with over 54 million viewers across all networks. And guess who was in the spotlight in many of the highest-rated games? Yes, Caitlin and the Fever drew two in an ABC regular season Fever game. A WNBA game with 23 million viewers is wild, and another on CBS hit too. Thanks to one rookie, the WNBA saw 25 million viewers, which is equivalent to NBA TV numbers. However, the playoffs deterred Alyssa Thomas from making some of her best passes because no one picked up Clark, who cans the three. Her first-round series attracted more viewers than the subsequent rounds without her, and the Fever playoff game received 5 million more viewers than the 2024 finals, which had an average of 1. It's mind-blowing that a WNBA sophomore can command this kind of schedule weight, which is usually reserved for players like LeBron James or Steph Curry. If you're a fan of another team, don't worry, you'll still see them whenever they play Caitlin and the Fever. With 57 million viewers, ABC-CBS is essentially vying for a piece of the Caitlin action. We have games of hers on weekend afternoons, weeknight prime time, you name it. With so much star power on those teams, it's really no surprise that they have the most games available for you to watch on a national level. The Fever lead the league with 41 games, followed by the Aces with 33, the champion Liberty with 32 and 32 games out of 44. Nevertheless, there is a noticeable difference between Caitlin Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart, and the other top stars in the league. Then there is Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky, who have 24 nationally broadcast games, which is respectable, 5 of which are against the Indiana Fever, you guessed it. As a consolation prize, when Caitlin is your opponent, you also get the spotlight. Let's go. Let's go. In fact, the demand for Fever road games drove at least 6 teams to move their home dates against Indiana to larger venues in order to accommodate the crowds. Let's face it, every team that plays the Fever receives the national treatment, so Angel cannot go off and claim that she is the catalyst here. It may be a blow to Angel's ego to have nearly half as many televised games as Caitlin, but it's just the norm at this point. The Chicago Sky, for instance, moved 2 of their June games to the United Center, which can accommodate almost 21,000 fans. The Atlanta Dream, on the other hand, moved to the State Farm Arena, home of the Atlanta Hawks, but their owner hilariously claimed that it was because of a scheduling conflict at their regular arena. We can all understand that you can't just upgrade arenas for a player who isn't on your team, but a scheduling conflict is like a happy accident that lets you sell 5 times as many tickets at higher prices. The scheduling conflict because regular arenas are only available when she's in town, but can you blame teams for moving to larger venues? Last year, for example, total attendance increased 48% year over year, and the WNBA recorded 154 sellouts, more than 3 times as many as the previous season. When Caitlin arrived in town, arenas that had plenty of empty seats were suddenly packed to capacity, and her own team, the Fever, broke attendance records. In 2024, over 340,000 fans attended Fever home games, setting a new WNBA high and an incredible. This is unquestionably fantastic for the WNBA. It signals something we've never seen before, unprecedented demand for the women's game, all sparked by one player capturing the nation's attention. The league is venturing into brand new territory thanks to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, which we say her stats are today 20 points, 8. That's a 319% increase from the previous year. Read that again. A team that drew about 80,000 fans in 2023 attracted 340,000 in 2024. Crazy. 4 assists and 6 rebounds. We've only just started to see Caitlin Clark's impact on the game, though, as evidenced by the fact that teams are moving their games to larger arenas. Networks are broadcasting nearly all Fever games nationwide, and the Fever sold out 15,000 tickets to a preseason game in Iowa against the Brazilian national team in less than an hour. Additionally, the exposure is creating a snowball effect as new viewers tune in because of the Caitlin Clark buzz and become addicted when the games are. Although Caitlin is competitive, people want to see her because she is only as good as her talented opponents who encourage her to do great things. This is exactly what the league has dreamed of. Samuelson makes a nice pass to Clark behind the back, and it's Smith with the finished brilliance from Caitlin Clark. Now, let's get to the real drama. Last year, Caitlin took a relegated team and brought them back to respectability after they went 1-8 to begin the season. They went on a 19-12 run, finishing with a 500 record and qualifying for the playoffs. This year's national broadcast will give WNBA fans, both diehard and casual, a front row seat to a championship caliber team. The team didn't make the playoffs since 2016, but Caitlin isn't the only one carrying the load. The Fever front office went all out this offseason, making big moves to build a championship caliber roster around their superstar, which helped lead Connecticut to the semifinals, where they've been each of the last 5 years. They've faced Howard, and she's met at the top and rejected this team. They began by improving their coaching staff by firing Christy Sides and acquiring Coach of the Year Stephanie White from the Connecticut Sun. They then signed veterans Dana Bonner and Natasha Howard to bring a combination of offense, defense, and championship experience. Bonner, a 6-time All-Star at 37, still has plenty left in him. Howard is a former Defensive Player of the Year who can patrol the paint. Finally, they added defensive anchor Brianna Turner and 2-time champion Sydney Colson for depth and leadership. In a spectacular move, they added defensive anchor Brianna Turner and 2-time champion Sydney Colson for depth and leadership. The Fever also made sure to keep their own core intact by resigning star guard Kelsey Mitchell, a 19-point per game scorer. Indiana brought in fan favorite sharpshooter Sophie Cunningham, who immediately announced she would be Caitlin's on-court bodyguard, ready to stand up to anyone who tries to get chippy with Clark. In other words, if you mess with Caitlin, you now have to answer to Sophie. Sophie's fiery swagger is exactly what Indiana needed. She will make any opponent considering roughing up Caitlin think twice. Game scorer, and let's not forget that they still have 2023 Rookie of the Year and former #1 pick Aaliyah Boston. When you add all of this together, Indiana unexpectedly has 5 All-Stars, several champions, and a much deeper bench. A year ago, the Fever were a recurrent lottery team, and Caitlin's arrival had already propelled them into the 2024 playoffs virtually by herself. Now, she's looking around and seeing a stacked squad next to her. On paper, the Fever have gone from rebuilding to possibly becoming a super team in record time, and fans and analysts are now whispering about championship potential. Keep in mind that this team hasn't won a championship since 2012, and now everyone is wondering if 2025 will be the year that the drought ends. Even WNBA fans who aren't fans of the team are eager to watch this team because, to be honest, it will be must-see TV. If Indiana was exciting last season, this new roster could be fantastic. Here comes Clark, who bounces to Ben and lays it in with all these new weapons. One has to wonder how much better Caitlin can get with a supporting cast like this. She was already a one-woman wrecking crew in college, leading Iowa to back-to-back championship games, and a franchise savior, as we may be about to witness a whole new level of the Caitlin Clark show after she finally got elite help. After the Olympic break, Caitlin poured it on, averaging 23 points per game, which is enough to make her a serious MVP contender in any season where A'ja Wilson doesn't drop 27 points per game with a better supporting cast. Her assists will also likely increase significantly, and we must keep in mind that she is only 23 and not even close to her prime. Of course, all this good news comes with some drama though, as not everyone is eager to bow down to the Caitlin Clark effect. And as the Players Union prepares for a new CBA negotiation, some WNBA players are acting as though they have all the cards, conveniently ignoring who dealt them in the first place. For instance, Angel Ree and Nefa Collier stated on her podcast that if the league doesn't comply with the players' demands, we're sitting out and essentially threatening a strike. So what does that mean? We deserve more. Of course, I agree that they're going to get more, and they're likely going to be making more than us. I've attended the meetings, and they are. I need to attend the meetings because I'm hearing things like, yeah, they don't give if y'all don't give us what we want. As we sit up, Collier, the WNBA Players Association's vice president, echoed that sentiment, saying that players are ready to go on strike if necessary. To be fair, they're not wrong about fighting for better pay, as revenues are expected to soar in 2026 thanks to the new media rights deal, and hopefully the league will be able to pay players much more. No, it won't be NBA level money, but it should be enough to deter players from the leverage they're feeling. Didn't just happen. It was largely due to the huge increase in interest that Caitlin Clark created. One sports business analyst estimated that Caitlin was responsible for 26. They had to play in leagues like Unrivaled in Europe to pay the bills. Let it sink in 2024, one rookie was responsible for 5% of the WNBA's total revenue. She increased ticket sales. 1 out of every 6 tickets sold was attributable to her fan draw products, TV ratings, and other activities. In other words, she essentially pulled the WNBA into it. In fact, games without Caitlin averaged barely 1/3 the TV viewers of games with her, and Fever games accounted for nearly half of the league's national TV revenue last year. However, you won't hear Angel Ree or others thanking Caitlin in those interviews. Instead, there's a lot of "we earned this, we have leverage." Some of your peers will recognize that you know her game, but they won't recognize her impact. So how can you distinguish between the two types of "you know all" and "I used"? The league and team executives won't say it out loud, either. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's schedule announcement credited amazing basketball and countless memorable performances across the board, carefully avoiding putting the spotlight on any one player,
We all know which player that is, Kathy, but some of this is just politics and pride. Players don't want to admit that a rookie came in and outshined them to this degree. And hey, a rising tide, but you know, Jax, you're absolutely right. Lifts all boats. Caitlyn's popularity is bringing in more money and attention for everyone, which is fantastic, but there is a hint of sourness. There is a manufactured rivalry narrative from college that has been carried over, such as Team Clark versus Team Ree, which is entertaining for fans to argue about. Angel Reese even put some effort into it, acting as though she is on the same level of stardom, but come on, Caitlyn is in a league of her own right now. Some fans even claim that these players ought to be grateful to Caitlyn for providing them with this platform, but you won't hear that publicly. Some players may complain or try to share the credit, but without Caitlyn we wouldn't be talking about record TV deals or sold-out arenas to this degree. The irony is that Caitlyn is the only one not demanding credit, so how is she handling all of this in a polite manner? The one person who could legitimately pound her chest and demand more is instead remaining focused and humble. Caitlyn consistently gives credit to her opponents and teammates, emphasizing team goals and game growth over her own stats, while others allude to strikes and leverage, but she hasn't discussed that topic in public, simply keeps working hard and letting her skills speak for herself. For instance, the NBA invited Caitlyn to participate in their All-Star Weekend three-point competition, which is a huge honor. You know she would have stolen the show, but she declined because she preferred to be the star of the WNBA's three-point competition at her All-Star Weekend, which is conveniently in Indianapolis. In other words, she gave up a significant spotlight to advance her own league stage, which is the kind of league-first mentality that makes her unique, and while others argue who deserves what she gets. According to reports, Caitlyn made $11 million in 2024 from endorsements and NIL deals, making her one of the highest-paid female athletes in the world. However, her WNBA salary was only about $75,000 plus some bonuses, meaning that less than 1% of her earnings came from the league. Because no one gives more value for those dollars than she does, she could easily complain about this imbalance, but instead she seems to accept her role as it is. Her agent publicly stated that she'll probably never receive the amount she deserves from the WNBA, and Caitlyn seems content with that. Caitlyn seems willing to be that figure for women's basketball because she knows she's a trailblazer. She may be remembered for taking the WNBA to a whole new level, so that future players, not just the stars, but the depth players who now earn a five-figure salary, have a healthy financial future ahead of them. Bird and Magic didn't create today's NBA money, but they made it a viable and exciting sport that paved the way for the Jordans and LeBron to arrive. In the meantime, she's developing a brand and fan base that goes beyond the WNBA, and people follow her every move, whether she's playing golf at a pro-am or supporting her favorite NFL team with a global pop sensation. She's making headlines and becoming that rare celebrity who is well known outside of her sport's typical audience, and throughout it all, she consistently says the right things, maintaining her composure and accepting the pressure. She frequently claims to love the big stage and the noise that goes along with it, which is fortunate because Caitlyn's fame is only going to grow after this. It's not often that you see someone handle superstardom with such poise, especially at 23 years old. Caitlyn Clark may never receive a salary that reflects the true value she's providing to the WNBA, but she's already securing something more significant, a lasting impact on the sport years from now. She's all about the team, the fans, and the bigger picture. Even after a season of being dubbed the league's savior, she hasn't developed the diva attitude. Instead, she's hardworking and proving people right. Now that the WNBA is flourishing on a whole new level, we'll remember that Caitlyn, with her absurd talent, humility and determination, lit the fuse. The Caitlyn Clark phenomenon is real, and it's changing the WNBA in real time. She's filling arenas, shattering TV ratings, and inspiring an arms race among teams, and she's doing it all with a smile and a humble attitude. Teams can blame her for her amazing performances, or call it a scheduling conflict, but we know the truth. Caitlyn is the superstar igniting this new era, and the best part is that it's elevating the entire league. You won't want to miss a second of it, so put those fever game dates on your calendar, tune in and enjoy the ride. If you thought last year was crazy, get ready for year 2 of the Caitlin Clark Show. We might see attendance and viewership records set again, and who knows, maybe even a deep playoff run or a championship for the Fever that would send the sports world into a frenzy. If you're still here, leave a basketball in the comments to say hello and thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the following one.